all of these improvements will be funded by dramatically cutting foreign aid, most of which are a lot of...
Ladies and gentlemen, the pleb is back. In this report, Canadians continue booing the U.S. national anthem at sports games, proving that this country is full of manipulable NPCs. Also tonight, Pierre announces the end of foreign aid here in Canada, as he announces today that he is going to drastically reduce all foreign aid being sent from Canada because our country has our own problems here at home that need to be solved first. Also tonight, I am going to expose some of the most ridiculous foreign aid contracts this country has ever given out, as we continue blowing our money on the wokest and the dumbest things, and some of these contracts are going to blow your mind. You won't want to miss this report. Stick around. Well, folks, it is good to be back, and I just want to apologize for the days off that I took, as I was recovering from a health scare as my eyes went completely red, but now they seem to be getting much better, and we are back in business. Now, in our last episode here on this channel, we talked about this disturbing trend here in Canada where NPC Canadians are now booing the US national anthem at NHL games and NBA games. And a week later, apparently this trend is still continuing. Here are the scenes at a NHL game in Vancouver the other night. Embarrassing. And things got even more cringe over the weekend, as at a NBA Raptors game, these NPC Canadians started booing a 15-year-old girl singing the US national anthem.
Would you please welcome 15-year-old Kyra Daniel. Are they gonna boo?
Oh, man. Sickening, isn't it? Now, the thing that bothers me the most about this booing is the fact that Canadians are so easy to manipulate. I'm not talking about you, the viewer who's watching this video. I'm talking about the average normie. And it sickens me that the Liberals are taking advantage of this booing and encouraging it, as to them, this kind of anti-American sentiment here in Canada is helping their election chances. And the Liberals have absolutely no shame admitting this. Like, one of their top strategists, Tyler Meredith, who's regularly on the CBC, admitted it. No, we shouldn't stop booing. It needs to be shown that we won't stand to be pushed around by a country that didn't accidentally vote for Trump. They brought this, so the Liberals want the booing to continue. And the saddest part about this booing is it's not who we are as Canadians. This is just completely pathetic. And back in the day, during Stephen Harper's Canada, when we actually had a real prime minister, Canadians respected the US national anthem and finished singing it at an NHL game when the microphone broke for the singer. Look at this.
Streaming, and the rockets red flare, the bombs bursting in air, gave the...
Amazing. We truly used to be such an amazing country before Trudeau destroyed this. This is who the real Canada is. And you want to know what pisses me off about all of this is the fact that Canadians are easily distracted by this Trump threat and are now forgetting the last 9 years of the Liberal government, which completely destroyed our country, which gave us record food bank usage, unaffordable houses, record levels of immigration, a broken healthcare system, and all of a sudden, these normie NPCs have completely forgot about that because Trump is bad. And as Canada continues down the path of clown world, it appears that our neighbors to the south, America, are actually healing as a nation and prioritizing their booing on the right things. Taylor Swift. Look at her face. She's like, why are these people booing me? Because you suck. Look, I don't know about you guys, but I'm proud of the country that boos people like Taylor Swift, and not the country that is booing 15-year-old girls singing the US national anthem. And before we move to this next story, I want to just touch on this real quick regarding the tariffs. Some of you were upset at me in my last video, calling me a Trump apologist, not taking these tariffs seriously enough. And you know what? You're actually right. I am a little bit upset at President Trump right now, and let me explain why. The reason I am upset about all of this is this resurgence of the Liberal Party here in the polls. Now, a month and a half ago, the Liberal Party were completely dead, and Trump threw them a bone and allowed them to have a wedge issue to rally around, to get all the brainless NPCs to cheer on. And we're seeing this here in the polling data. We were on our way here to having the most ideologically aligned governments between Canada and the United States since maybe Ronald Reagan and Brian Mulroney. But these tariff threats from Trump have given new life to the Liberal Party. And quite frankly, that pisses me off. But honestly, the last year and a half has been, quite frankly, way too easy for the Conservatives. And this new resurgence by the Liberals has given me new life, has motivated me. I like challenges. And you know what? I'm here to remind Canadians what a piece of government the Liberals have truly been. Now let's move the story over to Pierre Poilievre, who has completely shifted the focus of his campaign from Axe the Carbon Tax to now Canada First. Now, a couple of months ago, I told you guys that the Axe the Tax carbon tax election wasn't going to happen. And we got confirmation here by Pierre Poilievre as he is rebranding his entire campaign and will be now hosting Canada First rallies. And his first rally is going to be this Saturday in Ottawa at 1 p.m., where he encourages Canadians to show up wearing white and red to show their pride in Canada. And as part of Pierre Poilievre's Canada First rebranding, today he announced a new plan here from his Canada First plan, where Canada is going to build a military base in the Arctic.
The Canadian Arctic is under threat. Here are the facts. In the fall of 2022, the Canadian military found and retrieved Chinese monitoring buoys in the Arctic. And last summer, a Canadian warship on an Arctic patrol encountered a Chinese polar vessel in the Bering Strait off Alaska. Despite its borders being 1,500 kilometers from the Arctic Circle, China now considers itself to be a, quote, near Arctic state. The Department of National Defense last year also noted, and I quote, Russia continues to modernize and build up its military presence in their Arctic, investing in new bases and infrastructure. It also possesses a robust Arctic naval presence with submarine surface combatants and an icebreaker fleet much larger than those of other Arctic powers.
Ouch.
The Pentagon has also warned of potential Russian action in the Arctic, including jamming GPS satellites. Hostile powers want our resources, our shipping routes, and to be within striking distance of our continent. After 9 years of liberal incompetence and disdain, our military is weakened and our allies no longer respect us. Our safety, territory, and trade with the U.S. requires we take back control of Canada's north. This gigantic area of our country makes up 40% of our landmass and 75% of our coastline.
Wow.
140,000 Canadians call it home, spread across 72 communities. Since time immemorial, Indigenous peoples have triumphed over the harsh climate, harvested the land and sea for food, and passed on their precious traditions and knowledge down the ages. We grew up on the folklore of fur traders and explorers who charted across the Northwest Passage, writers like Robert Service, artists like the Group of Seven, and Inuit sculptures have shaped our polar identity. We are the true North, strong and free.
Damn right.
As the world grows more dangerous, our brave men and women in the Canadian Armed Forces, especially the mighty Canadian Rangers, must have the resources they need to defend our North. That's why Canada's last Conservative government started the Arctic Offshore Patrol Ships Project and invested in a new naval facility in Nanisivik, which is due to go online this year. But then the Liberals took office and failed our North and our forces. And Canada still does not have a permanent base in the Arctic, while at the same time Russia has reopened Soviet military bases and expanded its Navy's Northern Fleet over the past few decades. They have also developed new hypersonic missiles designed to evade NATO's defenses. Russia even has more ground force bases within the Arctic Circle than all of NATO combined. This is a wake-up call. We need to become more self-reliant and protect our interests and our sovereignty. That's why I'm announcing part of my Canada First plan to take back control of the Canadian Arctic. We will, 1, double the size of the 1st Patrol Group of the Canadian Rangers from the current 2,000 to 4,000 Rangers. The Canadian Rangers provide self-sufficient mobile forces to support the military. They often report suspicious and unusual activities while providing local knowledge and expertise. 2, we will acquire 2 additional polar icebreakers for the Royal Canadian Navy. These icebreakers will be on top of the current planned icebreakers that Seaspan and Davie shipyards are now building for the Coast Guard. Liberals have promised 2 heavy Coast Guard icebreakers, but won't say when. My government will deliver those by 2029, on top of the new ones for the Navy that I just mentioned. So to sum up, under Common Sense Conservatives, Canada will get 2 new heavy icebreakers for the Coast Guard, plus 2 more for the Navy, for a total of 4. 3, build Canada's first permanent Arctic base since the Cold War,
Wow.
CFB Iqaluit. We will build it in consultation with military experts and Indigenous peoples. Iqaluit already has a forward operating location and a functional airport and seaport that can accommodate the Canadian Air Force. Iqaluit already has over 7,000 people, so the base would not be isolated and it would bring increased quality of life and economic development to this important city. The base will host a full Royal Canadian Air Force wing to launch and land new F-35 jets, which will be nearby and ready to fight. The base can also launch and land Poseidon P-8 aircraft to deter threats and carry out search and rescue, anti-submarine warfare, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance work. The Royal Canadian Navy and Canadian Coast Guard could also continue to use Iqaluit Seaport as a base of operations to conduct maritime surveillance and icebreaking in Canada's Northwest Passage. It would also help NORAD detect, deter, and if needed, destroy incoming threats to North America. It would also fuel our local economic development in Iqaluit with better runways, energy systems, transportation, and infrastructure. All of these improvements will be funded by dramatically cutting foreign aid.
Let's go. You hear that? You hear that? This is how we're going to pay for it. By stop sending our money overseas or to ridiculous woke programs. Let's go. This is what I wanted to hear.
Foreign aid, much of which goes to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies. These steps are only the beginning of my Canada First plan for the North, and they will come on top of the already planned Defense Update and NORAD modernization plans that include, among other things, advanced air-to-air missiles, air-to-air refueling aircraft, upgrades to the forward operating locations in Inuvik, Yellowknife, Goose Bay, and the new base in Iqaluit. Other upgrades include airborne early warning aircraft, northern operational support hubs, new submarines to replace the Victoria-class fleet, tactical helicopters, and a new satellite ground station in the Arctic. Common Sense Conservatives will deliver these things faster than the current Liberal plan by eliminating red tape and delays. If we are to be a sovereign and self-reliant nation, we must take back control of our north, secure all our borders, and stand on our own 2 feet. We will restore Canada's promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything, that hard work gets a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods in a secure country protected by a strong military. Our country will secure our skies, our seas, and our soil in the true north, strong and free.
Yes.
Let's bring it home.
Canada first. Man, that's a fire video. Fire! Look, if these tariffs are really about how much Canada spends on our military, well, I don't think Trump is going to have much of an excuse under a Pierre Poilievre government, as we appear to be finally getting serious about putting money into our military. And today, up in the Arctic, none other than Pierre Poilievre flew to the Arctic to announce his Canada First plan and his plan for a new military base in some freezing cold conditions, and doubled down on the notion that Canada is going to cut foreign aid. Bro is literally hosting a press conference in Arctic conditions here. You gotta love the dedication. Let's go.
All of these improvements will be funded by dramatically cutting foreign aid, most of which, or a lot of which, goes to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies. We've got enough problems at home. We've got our own backyard to protect.
Let's go. We've been saying this for years on this channel. Canada first. Why is our money going overseas when our country is a mess right now? Finally, Pierre Poilievre's getting on the right talking points about this, and I'm happy.
Home. We've got our own backyard to protect. We can't be sending billions of dollars to other places. Often much of it is wasted and stolen and swallowed up by bureaucracies that act against our interest. I will be bringing our money home with massive cuts to these wasteful and corrupt foreign aid grants.
You guys notice how the internet is super shitty up in the Arctic? That's why it just froze up.
So Canadians will decide. With Trudeau, Carney Liberals, more and more billions of dollars will go to global and globalist organizations, while our people at home are starving and our military is unable to defend our territory. Or they can bring it home with common sense conservatives who will make sure our money serves our people,
yes,
our sovereignty,
yes,
and our interests.
This is what I'm talking about. Let's go.
And we will also go ahead with the already planned defense update, NORAD modernization plans that include, among other things, advanced air-to-air missiles, air-to-air refueling aircraft, upgrades at the forward operating locations in Inuvik, Yellowknife, Goose Bay, and of course the new base here in Iqaluit. Other upgrades include early warning aircraft, northern operational support hubs, new submarines to replace the failing Victoria-class fleet, tactical helicopters, and a new satellite ground station in the Arctic.
One thing I love about Pierre Poilievre is he listens to his base. We've been screaming this for the last 2 years. Cut all foreign aid until this country is actually fixed. We have way too many homeless people on the streets, too many people using food banks, and sending money overseas when our country is in such bad shape is just such a terrible, terrible look. And if you guys want to know what kind of dumb things we're spending our money on regarding foreign aid, now is where the fun is going to start, because I compiled a list here of some of the dumbest and wokest things that the Canadian government spends their money on when they send their monies overseas. Our first example of ridiculous spending comes from the Canadian government, who sent $34,000 to Guyana to support of livelihood opportunities through entrepreneurship training for lesbian, bisexual, and queer women and trans masculine in Guyana. Nice. Or how about this example, like how the Canadian government sent $25 million to Africa for designing spaces for trans people. Yup, it really is this insane. Or how about this example of the Canadian government sending $25 million to Kenya in Africa? You want to know what it's for? to fund DEI programs in that continent. This is mind-blowingly crazy. And the Canadian government keeps sending money over to LGBT organizations, as we caught another contract here where the Canadian government sent $1.4 million to Northern Africa to fund lesbian, gay, transgender, queer, and intersex right movements in the region. Or how about this one, folks? Shout out to Franco for uncovering this one. The Canadian government sent $7.2 billion for gender-responsive systems approach to universal healthcare in the Philippines. Yup. Our government sent $7 million to promote the gender insanity in the Filipino healthcare system. Our government also sent $9.75 million to Africa to the Clinton Health Access Initiative. That doesn't sound like money laundering at all. To promote abortions in Africa. Yes, we sent $10 million to promote abortions in Africa. Now, this one might not seem like much, but the Canadian government gave $20 million to a gay volleyball league in Ottawa that is only for gays, okay? They want to promote inclusivities, but guess what? Only gays are allowed. How inclusive? And the next one, this one is going to piss you off. The Canadian government sent $22 million of our tax money since 2014 to the World Economic Forum. Yes, can you think of a group that deserves our tax money less than the WEF? I can't think of any bigger waste than sending our money to Klaus Schwab, but guess what? Our government did it. $22 million to the millionaires and the billionaires in Davos. And last but not least, here is your winner for the most absurd foreign aid the Canadian government has ever given. The Canadian government sent $20 million to Africa to teach people not to shit on the beach. I wish I was kidding, but this is actually true. You can even see the sign of the Canadian government here underneath the sign saying that beaches are not toilets. We seriously need a Doge now in Canada. So yes, folks, when Pierre Poilievre says that he's going to cut foreign funding, there is absolutely no shortage of dumb things that the Canadian government blows their money on. And hopefully all these woke initiatives will be gone when Pierre Poilievre wins the next election. All right, folks, that's it for today's episode, but tell me in the comments down below, what do you guys think of Pierre Poilievre's plan to open a new military base in the Arctic? Are you guys on board? Is this a good plan? Is this truly Canada first? Also, regarding this foreign spending, I want to know in the comments down below, which one of these donations abroad were the most ridiculous in your opinion? I want to hear it from you, and I will read all the comments. If you guys enjoyed today's show and you want to support me, the best way to do it, like, comment, share, subscribe. My name is The Pleb, and I'll see you at the next report. Peace.